of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So for the record, for those of you who may not be able to see, we have this evening with us Ed Pianalto, Jared Garrettson, myself, Tom Gibb, and Ramon Reed. And our attorney, Clay Buchner, is on Zoom, and we have some other people attending as well. So thank you for your participation. Okay, sir, do we have any public comments? All right. Town attorney report. Mr. Attorney, do we have anything to report?
I don't have any formal report this evening.
No formal report.
Turn that mic on, please.
Okay, give that a try. Give that a try. See if that mic's on. Clay, would you say a few words for us?
I said that I don't have anything formal to report. Can you guys hear me well?
Thank you. That was a mic check, and you did just fine.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, hopefully we're up and running then. So the first item on our agenda is to approve our February 6th work session. And if you guys are amenable, we could do both the February 6th work session and the February 18 regular meeting at the same time, unless you would rather split those up. The work session wasn't really a big hoopla. What is that, a page and a piece? Yeah. What's that?
Page and bit.
Yeah, page and a bit. Anybody have any comments on the February 6th? Work session minutes? So this particular work session, folks, was regarding a change from our regular OWTS inspection schedule to a transfer of title. And it seemed like it was no particular anything one way or the other. And it seemed like we kind of came to a mutual conclusion, and this is just me talking, to just leave it be. However, did anybody find anything in our work session minutes that they were not satisfied with? Something to say about this?
Ed Herman's coming in, just talking.
All right, nobody has any issues with the February 6th work session minutes? And we will now take a look at the February 18 Town of Pitkin work regular meeting minutes.
I have, am I on?
Yes, you're on. Go ahead, Ramon.
I have a few suggested changes. In the first paragraph under call to order, the second sentence or third sentence says trusted Jared Garrettson was present via Zoom. This says attorney Clay Buchner was present. I would add via Zoom. Keep it consistent. Then on the third page, the paragraph in the middle of the page says Sarah Gibb read a letter aloud from Mike and Judy Chapel. I would ask that that letter be attached to the minutes or a copy of it be attached to the minutes as part of the public hearing. On the 5th page, starting on the bottom of the 4th is the vote on the motion. But then on the top of the 5th page, as Mayor Pro Tem, no, I would just add your name, Tom Gibb, Mayor
Got it.
Pro Tem. In section 2.5, I'm still on page 5. This, the second paragraph under 2.5 says Attorney Buckner stated that he is now employed with. Do you have the county name?
Attorney Bookner, what county are you employed with as, deputy district attorney?
I am La Plata County technically is my employer. But
You.
yep.
There we go, got it.
That's all on that page. Oh, no, I did have something. The paragraph below that starts with trustee Ed Pianalto. Ed, can you clarify, because I don't remember you saying it's critical that the attorney be present at all regular meetings.
That is correct. As I recall, my statement was that I would like to see the town attorney present via Zoom or in person at all the meetings. There's a case that he can't be.
Okay, so I've just amended that to say that he's present via Zoom or in person at all regular meetings.
Okay, that helps me understand. And that's all I have on that page. And I guess that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Reed. Any other thoughts from anyone else up there?
I don't have my 2 on 2-5, so cover those on.
I couldn't hear.
Oh, would you repeat that again?
But Ramon covered the 2 points that I had
Yeah.
on 2-5 on.
Okay. Seems that we have managed to reconcile whatever issues may have been there. At this time, I would entertain a motion.
This is that I'll make a move that we accept the meeting.
This is Jara, and I'll second it.
Okay, would you include the minutes for?
February 6th and February 18th.
There we go. All right.
There's jumping.
We have a motion from Ed to accept February 6th work session and February 18th regular meeting, and a second from Jara. So all in favor to approve meeting minutes for February 6th and February 18th?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next item on the agenda. So this is discussed with possible action, adopting resolution 2025-3 budget amendment, and this reallocates funds to parks and recreations.
You'd rather do
Treasurer.
3-2 first.
Treasurer report.
3-2.
I skipped one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good at that. I did skip one. Review the treasurer's report. Discuss and vote to approve January 2025 disbursements. So we have these 2 items, and I walked right into them. I'm sorry.
So I have 2 notes about the treasurer's report. First of all, I am still working to get the disbursement sheet to come out the way that I want it. And it looks like QuickBooks is just not going to do it. So I'll probably have to start doing those by hand. But just to clarify for anybody who's looking at that. When you look at any given disbursement, they're all separated by a double goal line. The amounts on the top line in parentheses, that is the amount of the check. And in some cases, and I'm really not sure what makes one thing different than the other. So for example, on Gunnison Country Times, there is no amount in parentheses, though it's just the amount of 2024. And then for Dove Graphics, that's where we purchase our ballots and our absentee mailings. That amount is $200. But for the rest of them, when there are multiple line items, the amount in parentheses is the amount of the check. And I also have an additional disbursement. We received an invoice from Fort Street Company for plowing in the amount of $2,750. That is for cleaning after windy days and drifting, snow removal, clearing snow on a hill for propane tank delivery, and another cleaning up after snow and drifting, and then additional snow removal.
Okay, one more time, what was that?
So we've got 2 days, it looks like, of snow removal, 2 days of cleaning up after windy days when there was drifting,
Right,
and then 1 day of cleaning access on Fifth Street for propane tank delivery.
and that total was?
The total is $2,750.
What's the access on Fifth Street for the propane tank? Is that the town's propane tank?
It is not.
Okay, I'm not sure why we're paying.
I would agree.
What's the amount for that? Where's it broken out?
150. This was for a private delivery.
So, yeah, that was my question too.
Propane delivery.
Like the private citizen
Correct.
contacted Forts Creek Properties?
And I don't know how it came about. This is what it's listed on. It says clear snow on Fifth Street Hill for access, propane tank delivery, and the name is Utsy, and that person is not on the plow list for winter plowing. I'm not sure where they are located, actually.
And you said the name was.
That's the name of the person.
The person is, UTSEY. They live on Aspen? Okay. Probably, because Fifth isn't on the list. This winter, because nobody up there requested plowing.
so it's not on the list, but the situation arose where it needed,
It
For
looks to
somebody.
me like it was for private plowing. It looks like, a resident needed to have propane delivered, and the town is paying for the snow
for
plow.
the snow plow to get propane delivered.
I would suggest maybe reaching out to Phil and having him reach out to the homeowner and say that they need to cover that directly, because we did not receive any communication that they wanted to be on the plow list and to be included on that for the winter, but that would be the board's decision.
And you said it was Aspen Street?
It says he cleared Fifth. I don't, but Chris said they live on Aspen, so probably Fifth to Aspen. I'm really not sure.
My first question that I would have is, did the property owner contact any of the board of trustees? Or I don't know when this was, if we had a street commissioner at that time. That would be my first question. No one contacted me.
The town did not receive any communication,
Okay.
There wasn't a date
not.
on when he did that?
Not for this.
Well, I would be inclined to I would be inclined to go the same direction you just stated.
Okay.
What do you think? I mean, when somebody's gotta have propane, they gotta have propane. If you get somebody over there to ply you out so you can get propane for $150, well, you didn't do too bad. That's what these machines are running for.
And maybe we need better communication from our town to our residents. Is this, I don't even know that name, but is this someone that isn't aware?
I couldn't say what anybody else is aware of. I could say that the town spent a lot of time talking about the snow plowing policy. It's online. And when the town adopted the snow plowing policy, we sent physical letters to every homeowner in town so that they could be aware.
So they should have.
Right, so every homeowner is aware that we receive snow in the winter, every homeowner is aware that we have a snow plowing policy, unless they didn't read their mail, but, you know, the town can only do so much. And if they chose not to inform the town that they need access, then I think the board can make a decision about that.
And better communication somehow might help, but I'm kind of I mean, they pay their taxes year round like the rest of us do, so. Except they didn't communicate that or maybe they didn't know they would need it. So I'm not inclined to be too snarky about it. I mean, they do pay taxes just like the rest of us.
It's a good point.
I
have some input for me.
Okay,
Can
we will see if we can get some input from Mr. Garrettson here.
hired people to clean out to get out, whatever his home up here on 9th of Main a month ago. Thank you.
But that was private property.
that was in.
That was not a,
Private people, but he hired it done.
yeah, but I'm saying that this was a street. Phil he didn't ask us to pay for private property. That was a street.
No, this is for Fifth Street, and I believe the Aon's property is in the county, so they.
Yeah, it's private property anyway. The town wouldn't be plowing there.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
But there is one other property that I know of. That the owner paid for River Street to be plowed out of their pocket to get propane in their tank as well. He also wanted his drive cleaned out, but he paid for that separately. And then they came to fill propane last week too, and he didn't ask for the town to pay for that. So I'm cautious opening a can of worms by saying, let's pay this $150 when we have some residents that paid for snow plowing their own to get to their property. At this point.
Okay, so do you have some intermediate suggestion there?
Well, no, my belief is Fifth Street wasn't on the list. At this time, we don't pay for it. We may change how we do the list next year. I don't know. But for this year, there was a list out there, the list of streets that we covered, and Fifth and Aspen wasn't on it, apparently. So I don't know that it's the town's responsibility to pay this bill.
I agree. What Bob said and what Sarah said earlier, we have a snowplow policy, and I think it's pretty clear. And, you know, that people who don't live here need to notify the town if they need snow plowing. So my suggestion is that we take $150, approve $150 less than what the bill is,
26.
which will make it $2,600. And as Sarah said, convey that to Phil and, you know, see, maybe he has some other reason that he expects the town to deal with it, but until then, I don't think we should pay for it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And, you know, at a later date, we'll probably need to revisit our snowplow policy. This is off subject, but I got to thinking here, well, since, the terrible fire of Todd Greenberg's, what if that had happened up on one of these other places, we need to get there for fire. Just because people don't live there doesn't mean that they don't need fire protection. So that would be my input, but I'm not opposed, back to the subject here, I'm not opposed to, decreasing $150.
Okay, then, so is everybody amenable with a reduction in that 2750 and a letter to the property owner to cover that?
No, I would send the letter to Phil.
And,
No.
and have him,
Have him contact the property owner, or if he doesn't want to, come back to us.
come back to us.
Yeah.
With, as you said, perhaps there's something we don't know.
Yeah.
Everybody good with that? Do we need a more definitive vote than everybody's good with it?
Well, we have to have a vote on the.
We do, yes. Okay.
So if you're ready.
So,
I'll make a
yeah,
motion.
is there, so this would be anything else under the disbursements that,
Everything else is, as it's written.
I will make a motion to approve the disbursements with the change to, or with the addition actually, because it's not on what we have here, but the addition to Quartz Creek Company of $2,600, and Sarah can communicate the difference with Phil.
I'll second it, this is Jara.
okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Just a second here, I'm writing.
So, I don't know if this is the proper time you would say this, but can we earmark or put it for the agenda later on? Discuss about snow plowing policy.
So make sure we get it out there.
Well, I think it's good for the board to readdress the snow plowing policy in general. I think it's good for the board to readdress the snow plowing policy prior to next fall.
Well, I'm not opposed to that. We're always in flux here on several items. And, snow we live in where the snow is made, folks. It's a wonderful place to be. It brings its own set of problems. So, Ed, if you'd keep that in mind and bring that up sometime a little later on when weather's warmer.
I will probably August timeframe.
Okay. I've got my papers scattered out here. What's next on the agenda? That thing that I tried bringing up?
Yes, number 3.
All right. Which was what? Oh, yes. There we go. So, this is a budget amendment and this reallocates funds to the park
Right.
and rec so that we can, catch up on some expenditures that went out earlier sometime back. And so, while it does say this item contains a public hearing, and so, we will start up here and then we will go out there and then we will come back here and then we will take a vote. So any discussion on this? Do we need any more details on this? Does everybody know what this is about?
No,
No?
no. What's the $1,100 for and why wasn't it in the budget? When we approved the budget in December?
That was for the expenditures to pay Jesse James Garrettson for work at the 9th Street
Okay.
Memorial Park.
When I saw this, I wasn't sure what.
Okay, so everybody up to speed on that? So Jesse had done some work down here in the pavilion and, he put in a bill for that and there was some discussion over that. And we paid him, $1,100 based on, what he turned in and the work that was done down there on 9th Street vicinity. And, that got on paper, taken from Parks and Rec and needs to be replaced on paper. So $1,100 came out of Parks and Rec and that totally blew their budget, I'm sure.
It didn't totally blow it, but their budget was fully accounted for, and so that would leave them at a, deficit.
Yeah. So, since that's where it came from, and there are reasons it came from there, and that's because other things, when you deal with issues after the fact, sometimes you kind of gotta go with, what seems reasonable and what makes sense and deal with it. Any other questions from the front?
I have a question.
Go ahead there.
Sarah, I know I've asked this before, but I still don't understand, so I'm asking you again. And not just this, but all of Parks and Rec. I don't understand why this money can't come out of the Conservation Trust Fund.
It can. We actually have not pulled money out of that account for quite a long time, and I'm not sure what the process is, but it can. Conservation trust funds can be used for improvement of public recreation spaces.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I didn't know why we aren't using it.
I'm not sure. That's a good question.
Do you have a problem if I ask to amend this resolution to take it out of that fund rather than the Parks and Rec fund?
That would be fine. I could have that ready for the next meeting. I'd have to look into if there's paperwork or anything to be completed for that, but that's what those funds are for.
I just think that we should use that fund, that's money coming into the town that is available.
Sure. Yeah, that's no problem. If the board, there are no expected expenditures for Parks and Rec, I believe until June. So there's certainly time if the board would prefer that this come out of the CTF, then I can make that amendment and have this prepared for the April meeting.
Thank you, Ramon. Any other thoughts up here?
So do we need a motion to table? Yeah.
Yes. If that's what the board wants to do, we can table till next month so that I can amend. Thank you.
Do you want to?
I'll move to table this until next month so Sarah can adjust the.
This is Jara and I'll second.
Okay, so we table this and this just blows out the, public hearing portion of this.
Correct. We'll do it
Okay.
next month.
There we go. All right, we're going to table this item and Sarah's going to check out the, conservation fund and what all that takes. And she'll present that. She'll have that ready for presentation in some fashion. And, in the event, in all likelihood, this will work. Is that correct?
There really should be no reason it wouldn't. And if for some reason it doesn't, I'll just give you the same.
Same thing back, okay.
But it should be just fine. We will have to post it once more in the newspaper, but that's not a major issue, I would think.
Okay,
I'll get that taken
all
care
right.
of.
So we have a motion to table?
I seconded it.
Okay. All in favor of tabling this item until, yeah. Next meeting, when we got things pulled together a little better, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, the next item is resolution 2025-4. And, this regards the audit exemption that we get to do how many years in a row before we finally have to step in big?
I think the most that we've done here is probably 2 years in a row, but typically we will do every other. So every other year we do full audit, and then on the odd year we do an exemption.
So did last year, we had a full audit?
Correct. We had a full audit of fiscal year 2024, and so we are requesting an exemption for fiscal year, no, 2023, so we're asking for an exemption of fiscal year 2024. And they still look at our reports. It's just not an in-depth look like a full audit is.
Right. Okay,
There is, this, the last whereas says an application for exemption from audit. Does that application have all of the annual numbers?
Yes, so the application will have all of the main numbers. It'll have the balances of the accounts, any new debt. Off the top of my head, I can't remember much else. It's about a 10 to 12 page application. Some things don't apply. But they do fill in quite a few of the numbers that paint a summarized picture of our finances for the year.
Okay, I don't have any problem with approving this tonight, but I would ask that you distribute a copy of that application to the
Yes.
board members.
So that is due March 31st, so we will have it prior to then. They're working on it right now, and then this is just the final piece that allows us to, that the board has approved that we're doing an exemption this year. And then, once we have that, you may actually also have to sign that. So that usually goes around, via DocuSign, and so we'll get your signatures on that as well.
Okay, I didn't realize that it wasn't completed yet.
No, not yet.
okay, so run that by me one more time. So this is not completed yet, and you said we may have to call around to what?
So once the audit exemption, form is completed, he'll, Mr. Cutler, who is our, accountant, I guess, will send the draft, everybody will look at it, and everybody will sign it online.
Okay, all right.
Online
I
thing.
thought that's where we were headed. I just wanted to make sure.
Yes.
Any other thoughts from the front?
Ready for a motion, you know?
Yeah,
This is that, I'll move that we adopt the resolution 2025-4 for the audit exemption.
I second that.
okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries.
Do you need us to sign this resolution?
Well, I guess I'll just get a time as any.
Well, there'll be more. The resolution.
There will
has
be
to
more, yeah.
signed, and then the actual paper will be signed, and that'll be sent over just as soon as I get that, Mr. Cutler.
So do we need to sign this tonight or next?
Please.
It's coming down the
I
line.
have a clean cut thing, fine.
Boy, that's some sloppy handwriting. Okay. Next item on the agenda is discuss with possible action approving plans and bids on streets and ditches. And Jesse, Jesse got up and made a pretty good speech last meeting and said he wanted to be on the agenda. So I made a note. Jesse made a good speech and wants to be on the agenda. And then I had to call him up and inquire, okay, Jesse, what are we going to talk about on the agenda? Jesse, if you would.
Well, you already got.
It didn't all get on there.
Okay, speak right up, Jesse. Get close to that microphone.
Yeah, Jesse Garrettson here. I added, a few sheets just now. that the top, that page, the front page was omitted as I presented. And these questions will right on in to what you got from the goals for 2025. And my understanding when I was appointed as street commissioner, that you want a lot more conversation and transparency and communications and all these things. And so here is where I start. First of all, Billy William Johanna's community service deal of 50 hours is complete. And Tom told me to go ahead and take care of it. So we put it on, I put it on the city of Pitkin's letterhead with the phone and email of the city and Justice phone and email. And so it's in the Chaffee County Probation Office. So as far as I know, Billy has got good notes. And then right on down, I would like for you guys to make a decision on these paragraphs or questions as we go, so we don't get in trouble. A lot of questions. Why did we cut the 2025 budget $5,000 for streets from 2015 and 2025? I already had bids over 15,000. And that's not doing anything we did last year. So it puts us in, not just Jeff, but whole town in kind of a red-faced situation. How can we handle it? Are all we going to handle it, or just let it go to pot?
So if I may, I'll give at least somewhat of an answer to Jesse's question on that, because I think he asked that we answer some of the questions as we go through them. So when we were working on the budget last year in November and December, the budget was reduced from 20 to 15,000. I know I asked the question where we currently, previous years, we've always had 20,000 in the budget. We reduced to 15,000 from my understanding is that's basically what we used last year. But I know Sarah made the comment that if we go over that 15,000, if we need to go over it, it's not a real issue to do a resolution to increase the budget for streets as we go on. So if we get close to that 15,000 and we need more, then we should be able to do a resolution. Much more.
So when I get over 15,000, we're going to do a resolution individually or a lump sum resolution or what? I would like to know.
Well, I think what Ed's saying, or what I heard him, I don't know if you heard for sure what he said. I'm having a little hard time hearing too with the heater. Is that you don't have to worry about it because we can. I mean, if that's your concern about because not much got done when we didn't have a street commissioner, and we do have to play catch up, and I think we all know that. But according to what Ed just said, you won't have to stress over that because we can pass a resolution. But that's partly why we'll have to deal with these things as whatever you have written all down here, the things you have planned.
And when we get on down on the next page, I'll be showing you other numbers. And I've shared all of the bids or the estimates of what that I've received to date. All right, I was going to say that we've got that taken care of. And the fire ditches.
Well, okay, hang on.
Okay, yes, please, thank you.
No. So, yeah, I understand what we're doing here. The question is, how far ahead of the game can we stay? So let's say we're running along here and we don't want to be boom out of money and in a tight spot. We need a heads up. And that's doable, yes.
Most of these expenses, the big one is the mag chloride and the road grade.
Right.
That's the big single line item. And that will hopefully be the middle of June to the third week of June. Now, to Sparky, the other two contractors I've asked for bids, and you have them, Spallone and JCI,
Mhm.
and they didn't all give us the same bid, the exact criteria I gave them. And so they vary. But those big expenditures will be in the middle of June to the third week of June. The county, when they do the 44 cutoff, is when they would like to do Pitkin while they're in schools.
So what I just heard you say is, this is our heads up.
Yes, that's where yes.
Thank you. All right, we can continue on now, I think.
All right, now when we get down to our fire district, of course, we're done with snow, and I have no clue. I know what we did emergency, keeping running last summer here until we finally shut them off. But, what are we going to look at for, we got in a pinch last year, got some embarrassments and stuff on bids and, keeping everybody happy. So how am I going to know in time for us to start to print and to print it in the paper and stuff, to get the bids to come in and dig out X feet or X blocks of ditch until we know what they are? Or,
No, I get what you're saying, Jesse. We still got snow coming down.
maybe more.
Still okay.
So I guess I think out loud here. I know there's still snow coming from the ditches, so we can't see exactly what the ditch conditions are in today. Probably will be May before we'll be able to see the condition of the ditches. But I'm going to go out on a limb and anticipate that the ditch work that we need to do would be under the $5,000. So it doesn't require us going out for bid, but it would require we adopt our spending guidelines. And it would require that we get 2 written quotes from 2 contractors to do that work.
Yeah, and the other item there is, it seemed like that last year we did a pretty good job on our ditches. And hopefully this year won't need quite so much. Hopefully.
I agree.
Yeah.
One input, our snow plowing has been pretty diligent this winter. And I see places where they push snow and gravel right into the ditch and clip the church's platform, from the steps.
Oh, did they get that too?
So they're just some items that we're gonna have to deal with someday.
They're going to appear once the snow comes.
Yes.
Just a quick comment here in looking at the street conditions plan. The town did pay almost $5,000 for ditch cleanouts in 2024. So this says no street ditch cleanouts were done in 2024. So that's not actually accurate. But like Trustee Pitkin also stated, it was under $5,000. It's quite possible that it would come in at a similar cost this year. I think that was it. I just wanted to point out that we did do, and we did, I believe, pay Mr. Garrison for some ditch cleanouts that he did. So there were some ditches that were maintenance in 2024. And total for that, for our, we spent, it looks like $5,300, so $4,800 to Gunnison Valley Excavation, and that was in June, to clean out the ditches that were identified as needing clean out. And then $500 to rent a Garrison's weed eater and mower for ditch maintenance in 2024.
Yes, and I don't see in this handout that I said there was no work done last year. Because I was part of, when you got the bids from Gunston Valley, and did the digging. Now, the monies you paid me were emergencies to keep the ditches running. And Tom and I visited about that, and I asked him what to do after the first emergency, and he said, shut the gates off. And I said, well, we're so early, why would we want to shut the gates off now? That could be a detriment to the fire department, our people. So let's try to keep them running, and he agreed with me. So we kept them running. We shut them off once, and then we turned them back on.
Well, yeah.
Another couple
What
of
did we manage there? Another week and a half, maybe? I
So
don't
I'm
know.
not denying at all, you paid me X dollars to keep emergency gates, their ditches running.
Well,
Okay.
yeah,
Maybe I'm just misreading that. Maybe when it says no other maintenance, not even culverts, nor street ditch clean out.
You're not in the paragraph I'm in. I'm in because we will not be able to evaluate our fire ditches until the snow's gone. My question is, how should we handle potential ditch excavation bidding? We'll be late. On the first page.
And I think when we get to that point, Jesse, in late May or mid-May, hopefully, we'll be able to evaluate those ditches. And I think just off of past experience, we've been under the $5,000 for ditch excavation. That would require 2 quotes and not have to go out for bid with publication and a formal bid. Hopefully, we won't be too late, because I'm with anybody else. I want to turn the ditches on as soon as we can for fire protection.
I caught a lot of slack when I wasn't ditch commissioner last year.
yeah. Well, those of you who've been watching, and all of us, I think probably all of us pay more attention to the ditches than we used to. We've got one collapsed down there about by the hotel. I don't know what went across the corner of that thing, but it's pinched in pretty hard. I'm wondering if I get in there with my little floor jack and some blocks, if I could just jack that
I'm getting if it'll work,
thing back over.
but yes,
If
we've got some problems.
I'll talk to you about it. We may give it a try. Okay, moving on. Go ahead, Jack.
Now I'd like to get into my goals.
Yes, sir.
Number one, I'd like to ask for bids or research or what we do to purchase 2 solar powered flashing octagon red lights for the 2 stop signs at 9th and State Street.
Solar powered, flashing, octagon. Oh, so this is a stop sign with solar powered
It has the red
Christmas tree lights around it.
points on the 8 point.
Yeah,
Yeah. I've seen a lot of them and they appear to be a lot more observed than just a stop sign that, we seem to habitually run.
so I gotta tell you, I am not opposed to that at all. This asks for bids or research, for the purchase of. So how do we navigate that?
Mike Sponsor brought this to me last summer, and he, has had connections with law enforcement and stuff for years, and, he has a catalog that has these particular signs available, which I've not looked at, I don't know yet. He just told me that if I ever got that place, he'd like to help me.
Well, it's good to know somebody's got a starting point. I haven't a clue. I mean, first thing I would do, I guess, would get on my computer and type in some keywords and hope that some images popped up and then start from there. What are your thoughts up front here, guys,
Well, I'm
regarding the
wondering-
stop signs?
My question is, so do we want to tell him to go ahead and start looking? And get some of this information and bring to us, unless you want somebody else to do it.
Well, see, that's the thing. Jesse's got ditches and Jesse's got streets. And I'm not opposed to asking Jesse to do this, except that man's gotta know.
Either, I think, in the essence of time, we either need to ask him, he volunteers his time, or we can ask Sarah, who gets paid to do it. I'm not opposed to that either,
Yeah,
but just let's get on it.
Well,
I would say-
Sarah did make, last year, or year before, Sarah, we bought the radar signs that have been used, speed signs.
Year before.
Year before, yeah.
yeah.
And Sarah went through that process, and I helped her, found a sale item, save some money on there.
So you helped with that some too. Well, okay, so would you be willing to initiate
Yeah,
a look-see for some of this stuff and give us a
Yes.
report back?
yes, I'd like to. So I'll give you a report back hopefully next month.
Is everybody agreeable with that? And, in the meantime, that doesn't mean we can't be looking, guys.
Yes, if you guys find something, get after it, let me know.
Ed's already looking.
How many prices you want?
But give us
I
a,
have no clue. I know.
no, it's difficult to know. Well, so solar panels are one thing and then battery backups are another. And then the mounting hardware and all that stuff, yeah, need to do some shopping and some looking and be a little critical of what we get so that we get something that lasts. Yeah. Okay, Jesse, if you would do that for us, we would appreciate it.
Second page, please, number 2. I'd like to put 2 30-ton loads of 3/4 road base for River Street between 9th and Mesa Streets. And that's at an estimate of $1,400.
And that's a bit of a swamp up there, isn't it?
Oh my,
I have a
last
question.
summer it was terrible and
Do what?
this
I
year.
have a question.
Okay. Ramon has a question.
Well, first of all, when you say River Street, are you talking about the road that continues at the end of, or where River Street drops down the hill and goes through the forest?
You guys tell me what to call that. From Mrs. Doonin's corner, it goes past the old fry place that now is somebody else.
Okay,
Curry?
Huh?
Curry?
Yes. And it goes on past where, Ethan Beery has been working. And then Ms. Mutz's grandson Dwight's house goes up to Mesa Street and then heads up towards,
okay, I just wanted to
Makes
clarify,
that hook up the hill.
because it technically is not River Street.
I know.
So that's why I'm asking.
Yeah,
Also, the street that you're talking about, the road, is only platted 15 feet wide. And that's where I have some concern because I guess I'm concerned both about encouraging traffic on that road, as small as it is. And even, putting the 3/4 inch road base gravel and on it that's never had. I think that I have a concern about the adjacent private property and how this will affect or even infringe on that property.
I've had 2 requests and it depends on who lives on the street. The Currys requested and so did Ethan Beery. Now Dwight has not.
I say that again,
The Currys bought the private place. They're right there above Mrs. Doonan.
yeah,
And then you start that 15-foot right of way past Ethan Beery's, where he's building a new home. And it goes right on past Mrs. Mutz's place that Dwight somebody's not Mutz because it's a daughter's son.
yeah, lower
Now, he
generation.
has not requested, but the other 2 parties have. And I was up there last spring and it was nasty. And then when it rained last summer, we took a ranger out there to go on Powder House and it was sloppy. So, it just depends on who lives on the street. What do we do with State Street? We take care of it or not? Do we do River Street? Take care of it or not? I mean, these are things that have been brought to my attention. I'm proposing to you to get done this summer.
So I was up on that street last week with my pickup. It is mud. Last week it was extremely muddy. There's 3 property owners up there that pay taxes just like everyone else on this board does. And we've not done anything on that street. I think it's time we put some road base on it. As Jesse has requested, you go ahead and start making it so it's not a mud pit to their property. So I'd be in favor of going ahead and putting 2 30-ton loads of 3/4 road base down, because that's a start on that road. I know it's only 15 feet wide, but it is to those property owners' property.
Well, this is just, me asking an opinion. Cause I bought some gravel and had it put up on, Sage Lane here a few years ago. And I'll tell you, a load of gravel doesn't go very far. I think 2 loads would be a good start, though.
Well,
We see how it
that's my
goes.
opinion, and it's only 15 wide.
Yeah, you're
And-
just making one track and then
Retrieving
spreading it
that's
out.
gonna be tough, and there's gonna be some challenges with it, but, I don't know how else to figure. That's kind of a shot from the hip. I thought 2 loads would be a good place to start.
I think you're correct. Any other discussion up here? Should I throw this out to the public? What's the public think? Want some gravel on that road? Yep, okay. As far as encouraging traffic, I run that road several times a year just for the fun of it. I don't know what the rest of the world does, but I can tell you it's deteriorated significantly over the last few years. So I would be in favor of trying to mitigate that at least a little bit.
May I put a yes with number 2?
What do you think, guys?
This is Jera, and I would be in favor, just because they're tax-paying residents and need access to their homes. So I'd be a yes.
May I ask a quick question?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I'm just looking down at the list, I had it very closely, so I could have missed it. I see that there are a lot of estimates for the cost of gravel, but what, does that include the cost of the trucking and then spreading the gravel and all of that, or is this just the gravel?
My $1,400 on number 2 item is a real close estimate on gravel and freight.
Okay, and then
The
what?
freight varies because, it's on an hour basis.
Okay. What about then, is the plan to bring people to come in afterwards and spread the gravel, or would they spread the gravel? Because I'm just wondering if those costs are included in this, or if that's something that we need to add into the figuring when making decisions about, what the town is gonna do this year.
Very good statement. If the truck driver has his act together and they're not overhead lines and they're not mud holes and stuff, he can do a pretty smooth job. But if you remember last year when Sloan put some or people go on State Street, I spent a lot of time taking down mounds and filling in bare spots.
Right.
So you asked a good question I can't answer.
All right, well, I mean, River Street, this, or whatever the street's, River Trail, I don't know what it's called, is, it's pretty closed in,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
narrow. And I do know that there is an overhead requirement if they're gonna dump while they're rolling down the street, and I'm not sure if that'd be possible on this particular stretch of road, just due to how closed in, I mean, there's trees and all that stuff, so I'm just wondering if you also came up with an estimate on, your hours, or
No.
whoever's hours.
No,
Okay. Because I think that for the board to make a reasonable decision about any of these, there needs to be an estimate not only of the material, but also of the tractor hours that the board would be paying for this, and that adds a significant amount of cost.
I'd like to hear that from the board, but it is a good comment.
Say that one more time. I was reading.
We would like to hear that from you.
Sarah has made a good comment,
Yes.
but I want to hear from you, the trustees.
I'll stand by what I said before, that these are tax-paying citizens needing access to their homes, and so that's me.
Okay,
So just,
go ahead, Ed.
I've added up real quick what Jesse's put on his proposal for the different things. $1,400 on road base for number 2, 700 on number 3. 1462 for soil, 2 tons of load soil, number 6, 700 on, lost it, number 7, I believe, and then age 1400. That totals 5662, 5,062. Even, let's say on River Trail, 15-foot wide, you've got to spend 8 hours on tractor use. But we're not gonna double that number with tractor use, so 5662. So will it go up? Yeah, it's gonna go up a little bit. If you've got to use a tractor, I know owning a tractor, we're not gonna rent a tractor for cheaper than $50. So I don't have a problem on each one of those if we go in and add 8 hours on number 2, $50 an hour. And see what the total is. We're well under budget. Only been $10,000.
Right. So correct me if I'm wrong, because actually I was reading when Sarah was talking and I should have paid closer attention. Her question was, we got a 15-foot wide street with encroachments overhead and these trucks are big. And you lift those beds up and then how good a job are we going to do? That's kind of how that went, right? And Ed's point is that if we can get spread it all, so we don't just be dropping gravel piles that we got to move the entire thing, to get any kind of spread, then the tractor hours would not be egregious.
So almost, my question, that was one specific example, but my question was to ask whether or not the estimates included tractor hours time.
Right.
And he said that he'd like to hear from the board as to whether or not that should be included. So just for clarification, I'm making the comment as the treasurer, and we've been looking at these numbers for several years. We pay an average of $3,700 for tractor hours per year. The low number is 1,675, the high number 7,150. So there is the potential that could add quite a bit depending on the scope of the work. So that's why, as the treasurer, I thought that if the board is reviewing estimates, the estimates should include those hours.
And that's nothing wrong with that idea. It tends to fall down a bit because so often you just can't know.
I think a never truer statement has been said, Tom. And you could tell me I'm prejudiced, but this is my 50th year here. When we have any volunteer in any of our commissioners, and especially somebody that'll rent their tractor for $50 an hour and be here and do it, when we have commissioners who are willing to get something done, like Ramon at the city hall, please, let's encourage them. We have to be fiscally responsible, of course, but we don't know what's going to happen with storms
Right.
on the streets and mud
Well-
and all that kind of stuff, but
So let's dial this back just a bit, see if Sarah knows off the top of her head. So we have you say on the average, yearly average, and how many years was that average pulled from?
I think starting in 2020, so 5.
Okay, and I'm gonna see if I can tap your brain again. How much do we what are our highs and lows for what we have spent for gravel in a year?
For gravel?
Yeah.
Let me see.
I know I'm putting you on the spot
No, I
here.
have it. So for gravel and hauling, I put those two together because you can't really get
Right.
away with one without the other. The low was 2020. That was 1,773. The high was 2023. That was 18,755. So that average is not what I told you before. What's the average I just shared was the average of tractor rental.
What was that low again? 117 what? The low again,
The low,
on the gravel and all.
1,773. That was in 2020.
We must not have done anything that year.
And in 2023, I think that was the first year that we did state with the county. And that was 18,755.
Well, I don't want to be. I need to be a good trustee of the town's funds, but, these numbers here are not scary for what the town has available. And, given the condition of some of the streets, what needs to be spent. And,
I totally agree with Tom. And also, this town is so blessed with, not just our commissioners, but all these other volunteers. That's why these numbers can stay so low. It's wonderful, the people we have that volunteer in this town. All of them, not just commissioners.
well, we got a yes on number 2. Did we get stalled out there?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we did get a yes, did we?
I asked for a yes, and I got a thumbs up from Ed, and then I thought we had it, and then Sarah mentioned the tractor work.
On number
And I don't
3,
have a clue how many hours it might take or not take.
yeah,
And I'll tell you one thing, when you did some shopping or didn't do some shopping on leasing these pieces of equipment, that $50 an hour is pathetically cheap. So that's one number.
So we're,
Yes, one too.
it's going to be my opinion that, graveling between 9th and May is a good idea, and, we will just have to do the best we can with it. That's all I know to say.
I'm okay with that.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Thank you. You ready for number 3?
Yes, sir. Let her rip.
All right, finish leveling that was started in 2024, Sage Lane from 2nd to 3rd Streets, and add 130-ton load, a 3/4 road base to it at an estimate of $700. And probably stop at the Eddie Bulge's property, because last year he did work on that portion of Sage Lane and put gravel in there himself to get to his shed. He couldn't get to it without doing some work in gravel.
Eddie's right there on 3rd, isn't
Yeah, it's, Eddie is on 3rd, and the alley behind his property is Sage Lane. And it goes all the way to 2nd Street. And it has been opened in the past, but, it became a junkyard. And when I started work on it a year ago, I got a lot of trash in, I moved it off and mowed it. And, then I got shut down with a moratorium on building more work, so that's where it sits. And I would like to finish the project I started a year ago.
Well, I understand wanting to finish projects you start. My question is, the traffic on that road. Maybe it's just because it's not a fun road that nobody uses it. I don't know. Any thoughts from the front here?
Yeah, on that, I received a text this afternoon from Chris Yagley, Chris and Ginger that have the cabin on Armstrong.
On Armstrong, yeah.
And his text was asking about Sage Lane and if anything could be done with that this summer. I got this afternoon.
He'd like to be able to get out that way, would
In his text, he told me that his plan later this summer is to put a garage on Sage Lane for the backside, like
he? Well, that kind of,
for access.
that might change things a bit. We don't have a whole lot of people wanting to access that except maybe Eddie up there next to Third. And he's kind of taking care of his little spot.
I have a question because I haven't been on Sage Lane in a long time. Does it currently go clear through to Second Street? So
Yeah.
it's right.
Yes, after I move the trash off of it, you get through it.
Okay.
And, it's all about who lives on what street. Last summer, for your information, conflicts of Pitkin, a person came in and parked a camper on Sage Lane. And Eddie Bolts told me he wouldn't do anything about it because he didn't want people running up down his lane. So, see, it's all about where you live, and who you're trying to make happen. So, the kids have got some decision making. You're gonna hurt somebody's toes, you're gonna make somebody's toes feel real good.
Does Sage Lane cross Armstrong Creek or,
No,
no, it's all on,
It just runs into Second, doesn't it?
on the Main
That's it.
Street side of Armstrong, and Armstrong is above that?
Armstrong is more toward the mountain.
Yeah, okay. That's all.
And Armstrong basically dead ends at Third. It becomes a
Terrible Mountain.
Terrible Mountain Road, or you take a right on Third. That's the street in and out of Levita.
Yeah.
I think my guy died.
Yes.
His battery type.
Jesse,
Okay, so once again, the question, same thing that Sarah asked earlier, you've got $700 down here. Will that cover? According to the previous item number 2, at 1,400 for 2 loads, and that would get close to gravel and freight. Will the 700 also get close to gravel and freight on this?
With no tractor,
Yeah,
that's
right,
with gravel and freight.
right.
And what's really key on that is whoever's driving that truck, if they can spread it even there. I mean, we saw it last year, the year before. When Jake Lowell was up here spreading gravel, he could spread it the whole block.
Oh, yeah. I've heard,
Delivered every load.
And then the next other company came in and.
We were sorry.
Like mountains down State Street. So I hope we get a good driver.
I have no particular notion one way or the other on this. I'm gonna leave it up to you guys. Because I just don't know. If Geigley wants to put a garage there, well, that's nice, and he would like some gravel, I'm sure. But the garage isn't there. Did he say when he wanted to do that?
He, just in his text, he said he was hoping to do it later this summer tonight.
Okay, all right. Well, that may be important. All right, thoughts from the front. We need a yes, no, maybe so, or something.
I'd say, this is Jer, I'd say finish the project.
I'm okay with number 3.
Okay. Ed, you okay?
Yep.
Okay, we're good then. Check it off, Jesse.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Um,
Number 4.
Yes.
I've requested bids from Dutchess County Road Department, JCI, and Stallone for road grader work and material and application of mag chloride to our gravel streets. The only addition to last year's application would be add one block of mag chloride to Alpine Lane between 8th and 9th streets because of dust at PHCA's Pavilion and the Silver Plume Grill. This addition is primarily due to food being consumed in these close proximities of this area. And on top of that, the dump thing, even have complained to me about dust. That is the same alley that they share with the Silver Plume and this modular house right beside.
Yeah.
And right here between the Pavilion and Newton Center.
Well, okay, so somebody's gonna have to clue me in here where we're talking about. Isn't Alpine where you have, isn't that the street between?
Right here.
Alpine between the Pavilion and the Newton Center. You're parked on.
All the way down to 9th Street.
That's Alpine Lane.
Okay, all right. I had a
That's back
confusion.
behind Chris's place.
Right, okay, thank you. Sometimes I need a little clarification and relocation. All right,
And I had received some bids on that. And I forwarded to Sarah. But the mainest thing is to get your permission or encouragement to add that one block to the mag chloride that we had last year.
what, do you know offhand what it is costing us per block?
No, I don't.
It doesn't matter, don't worry about it. Dust is dust. And, we don't need dust at the PHCA Pavilion or dust wafting through the Silver Plume Grill or the entire area down there.
The only thing I'm really needing on number 4 is to include that one block.
Yeah.
And the rest will be handled through the bids from those 3 sources.
Okay,
I think it's a good idea because that is the heaviest traveled
it is heavy,
alley
yes.
in town.
What do we typically spend on mag chloride? here? 'Cause usually it's, I think anyway, they bring up one truck,
Yeah,
unload.
I was not.
I'm sorry. My question is, what do we normally spend on mag chloride a year? I know it's going up this year. But isn't it dependent, if like bring one truck up?
Yes,
Whatever
they
they
bring
do.
a 5,000 gallon load,
Okay,
and adding the one block will not increase the mag chloride fluid. It will just be a little tiny bit more skimpy on the rest of the streets. And I believe it's $1.20 a gallon, is that right, Sarah?
I'm not sure. I didn't.
I've got,
I believe that's what, I believe it jumped 20 cents since last year.
it's up 17 cents according to this.
Okay,
17 cents a gallon, it went up. The price of down 20 cents a gallon, 5,000 gallons, it costs $6,300.
correct.
Our equipment and labor will be around 3,700. So if I'm reading this right, the total for 5,000 gallons for them to bring it up and spray it is $10,000.
Yeah, I have the bid, I don't have it in front of me.
Is
That's
that-
forwarded to Sarah.
Is that
And I
typically,
think you have it in front of you, maybe if Sarah sent it to you.
that's what I'm reading off of.
Okay, thank you.
But my question is, has it typically been around 10,000, Sarah? That we've done for mag chloride?
I think the street commissioner probably know. I can check, but I don't know off the top of my head. I do know. Prior to going with the county, it cost anywhere from, I think, 25 to maybe 4 when we went directly with Jimco. So I'm not, and I don't remember what it was the first year we worked with the county.
When you say 25 to,
Yeah, it used to be quite a bit less expensive. I can look. It'll take me just a second, but I'm happy to look.
I believe it's jumped like 40 cents in the last 2 years. If my recollect's right.
Okay, guys, we need to keep moving.
Okay, number 5?
No, we gotta get number 4 done.
This is Jara, and I'm a yes, especially due to food consumption and the excess traffic.
Ramon's good with number 4.
I'm good.
Okay,
I can get the mag chloride cost of the past.
I have it. Well, I have it for, so 2019, it was 2,300. 2020, it was 2,700. 2021, 32. 2022, 35. And then I guess 23 was the first year we worked with the county, and that. I'm not sure if I have it split out, so that would probably have to come from Mr. Garrettson.
I believe Sparky bid the water truck, the road grader, and mag chloride together last year. And it was less than hiring some.
37, sorry to interrupt. In 2023, it was 3762. And in 2024, it was. It's in with a bunch of other stuff. I'm not sure.
So
Mag chloride and grading.
Yes.
And it wasn't split out that I.
And in 24, Mr. Schmidt and Sparky told me that they would pass through the county, whatever it cost the county to get it from Grand Junction. It's initials is GCI or something like that.
GMCO.
Okay, GMCO. Thank you, sir.
So the county's quote is for the mag chloride, 5,000 gallons of mag chloride, and then grading after the mag chloride's put down, $3,700
Probably before, but yes.
or before.
The grading comes first.
Oh, okay.
yeah, don't you grade it and then water it and then mag it?
Water it, grade it, water
Water
it, and chloride.
Okay.
You water twice.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we're happy with number 4.
Number 5, I'd like the trustees to advertise and ask for bids to assemble and mount the 2 radar signs that have been laid under the protection of the.
Okay. Yeah. How much work is this? Have you put one of these together?
The 2 that we have today.
Yeah.
Ann Mikowski and I did, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Just prior to getting the portable in. And it was an all-day deal, putting the 2 together and mounting them.
2, took all day to get them put together and mounted.
Dig
Okay.
the holes.
And what would you consider the skill level to do this?
Time factor bigger than anything.
Times bigger
And
than
I
anything.
don't know how broke down these are. There's a lot of boxes. When Rand and I did it, the whole box came in a unit. And all we did was put the solar panel up on top and then mount the screen and the radar equipment on the post, dig the holes, and put sackcrete in, mix up sackcrete and made it secure.
Yeah. Well, the reason I was asking is because just from what I've seen of the product that we have, I'm thinking this looks like a job.
That's the reason I want you kids to get this bid out to somebody and I want you to tell us where to put it. We had so many locations, people, everybody wanted to run their house. They worked a year and a half ago or 2.
Well, we can work on locations when we get them put together, I suppose, or we'd be thinking about it the whole time. So, all right, what is our methodology for advertising and asking for bids?
That could be a quote. All we need is 2 quotes. I don't see them being over $5,000.
So where do we put this?
We don't, with a quote, we don't have to do an ad. If we find any local contractors and get 2 written quotes for what they would charge to install them. My question with those 2 signs is, are we gonna also build boxes like we have with the other two, dirt in them, to put those signs and notes, or are we gonna put them in the ground?
They,
Because I don't know if they come in the post or not, I have no idea.
Are some of them in the ground? Or are they all in those
The two
boxes?
that Rand and I put together years ago are stationary. Yeah.
In the ground, like
Yeah.
not the boxes.
Now, what Ed's talking about is much like the speed sign that's right here on top of Main Street. And those can be portable. Now, the challenge might be in that, facing that box parallel to the street and having the solar panel face the sun. You know, if you turn a quarter turn, you're gonna be wrong. I thought when the town ordered these, that they were to be stationary, but that's up to you kids. That's your call. I don't want to make it.
well, I'm not opposed to putting them out for bids. I don't know how to do
You
that.
put it out for bids and then you decide if in the
Which-
next 2 months where to put them and maybe portable or stationary. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'll ask Sarah. When we put things out for bids, we don't often do this kind of stuff. I mean, we put things out for bid, but
But we don't need to put it out for bid. We can just
just
ask
ask
around,
two
find
people
two people that we can
and
find.
decide.
That's
we're
what,
gonna take.
that's my opinion.
Okay. Suggestions on who to ask.
I don't know, but maybe the street commissioner could ask around, but so could the rest of us or anybody else.
I don't know what's gonna take to put it together. I don't know how much technical knowledge you're gonna have or anything about it. I know there's a lot of boxes and there's some batteries.
Yeah,
I would like us to have it done like before Memorial Day so we can have those, because they've sat in those boxes way too long to be helpful.
Jesse, who dealt with the movable ones prior?
The movable boxes,
Yeah,
the street commissioners moved them and tried to place them where people
you
asked.
did.
Yes, I did.
Reading, I don't see any problem with, putting it on the website or posting it, anything else, but the question I have is who's going to answer, anyone who might want to bid on it's gonna have some questions. What the hell do I do? And so who's gonna answer those questions is,
I think that has to be the street commissioner and then if he had, well, I think you
I
should,
don't have
that's,
the answers. I don't know
you
what.
have to come to and you have to ask the mayor or the board. But I think you gotta get on it because it's gonna be Memorial Day before we know it. And but
Well,
it's been between the street commissioner and the mayor in years past.
But do we even need them? We didn't even get the portable one put out last year. Nobody complained.
Yeah, that's a new twist.
So I would say to put it out there for anybody to see what it's gonna take to do. There's obviously gotta be some instructions in one of those boxes on
you
how
would
to
think,
assemble
yeah.
them, how to assemble them. Pull the instructions out, and
Okay, so how are we gonna advertise bids?
I'd recommend putting it on the website and posting it at the post office.
hey,
And pass the word in this
And-
town, that goes
absolutely.
fast.
Word of mouth, word.
Okay, post it at the post office, put it on the website. Can we do that?
on that, we've got to put a contact. That's what I'm asking is, Jesse, will you be the contact or?
Yeah, for Sarah, I'd say if the town website puts it out, I think it comes straight to Sarah. But if it's put out differently, they might come to me, I don't know. But where the council puts it out, I think the questions or the response would come to the board, through Sarah as the clerk. That's my nature.
It can be whoever the board prefers. I'll just put the contact information of the preferred person on the notice.
Yeah, I don't see any reason it couldn't come to the board. We'll see who turns up.
Yeah. I hope
So,
so.
well, I would say put it on the website, we put it on the post office. Let them respond with quotes back to town clerk, and she give to the board. in the meantime, I think I know there's gonna be questions of how involved is this gonna be?
Yeah,
I think we can find the instructions and use that as a starting point. We may have to open up every stinking box on that ballot to get to them.
yeah. Well, that's my expectation. Gonna have to open some boxes.
Yeah.
Well, I hate to make a mess ahead of time, you know, but somebody's gonna have to look. Okay, so we'll advertise it and we'll,
Of course, we can't dig holes till the ground's not thawed enough. That's one thing. But we
It'll be
do,
thawed enough.
we do need to be as expedient as we can. So when we put out that notice, time, I think we should say time is of the essence, and we'd like them to respond as soon as possible.
okay. We'll see if we can get that done.
Okay, moving on down to number 6 then.
All right, so you want, pit run soil on the lower area of Courts Lane between 9th and 10th Street. What is pit run soil?
That is what they dig out of the gravel pit like Tamichi's,
Yeah,
that topsoil and stuff they take off and they don't screen it and take the rocks out of it. It's what they just call pit run. And it's quite a bit cheaper, not as much cheaper as I thought. And Tamichi's the only one that's giving me a price on it. Evidently United or Stallone don't have connections to pit run soil.
so the advantage of pit run soil is that it's also already got some aggregate in it and it gives you more base to hold the top rock. you
There's
put
a
on top
mud
of.
hole there, yes. A low spot.
Okay,
And then I'd like to put one load of 3/4 gravel road base.
I see
on top of
that, yeah.
I'll start on this because I have a problem with it because two people have contacted me that live on property adjacent to adjacent to that area between 9th and 10th that didn't want to see that used as a traffic loop, basically, which is what's been talked about. And I agree with it, frankly. I think the traffic, or whether it's for parking or for use of the town park, I think that 9th Street can handle the traffic two-way and parking. And that's how I think it should be, rather than encouraging, I don't know how that was planned on being done, putting up signs or whatever to make a loop on Quartz Lane to 10th Street and then back to State. I'd rather encourage people to just use and turn around on 9th Street. That's my 2 cents.
I know back up on the road, Mr. Reed, you did recommend that we gravel that and make it a good parking spot, that 66-foot wide below 9th Street going down to Ports Lane. And I did some work on it last summer, and I painted angle strips, angle parking going down on the downstream side of 9th Street. And then I did some angle parking going up towards State Street on the upstream side of mine. And it wasn't very conducive to people parking there, the vehicles. People I visited with said they did not like, they'd rather park going downstream on both sides. You know, park this way and this way, going downstream instead of.
I have a question, Jesse.
Okay.
How do you do angled parking on a dirt street?
Well, I painted the biodegradable paint on it and made them off and stuff to do some testing. And at one time, Sarah said we need to have an ADA parking spot. And so I feel like if we establish the angle parking, the people will continue to do it. I don't know, how do you do Main Street parallel or angle parking or State Street, any of them? It's just driver, I prefer they be heading the right direction on the correct side of the road, and I see a lot of times that doesn't even happen. So, we can't make people do something.
Well, I was just, angle parking is normally on pavement with painted lines. And I didn't know if you had something to the way of doing it on street or what, I'm asking.
Now, I just use that biodegradable orange paint to give some examples of played with it, and, no, it's not permanent, it won't stay.
And I still feel that regardless of how the parking goes, I think that it should just involve 9th Street, not Quartz Lane. That's my opinion.
Any other thoughts up here?
So Quartz Lane is a platted street.
Yeah,
And there are other property owners on Quartz Lane. I haven't talked to them, I haven't heard anything, one way or the other. So I'd have to question why we wouldn't go ahead and improve Quartz Lane when it's a platted street. It's just my thought.
I don't see a need to.
Well, okay, so, yeah, so how many homes require Quartz Lane there for access out? One way or the other?
Three for
That
three.
it's their entrance.
You got 3, and where are they located? Are they just spread all up and down there, or are they?
No, we're not
Bunch.
talking one block.
One on each end.
Two on the east side and one on the west side.
And how would you evaluate the condition of the street now?
Passable in good weather. And a year or 2 years ago, Rick Jones, I asked him if he wanted snow plowing. And he said, yes. I said, well, then you need to contact our clerk and get it on the list. Won't do it. And I said, well, would you like me to be your ambassador and request it for you in your behalf? And I did. And so we now are plowing down to Rick Jones's driveway.
So we're plowing to Rick Jones driveway anyway.
Yes.
Well, I understand Ramon's reluctance here to traffic loop. I understand that. I don't know that. I've maybe driven that twice. So it's off my radar. Ed thinks, and just because it's a platted street doesn't necessarily mean it needs to go. My question is not whether or not it's platted. My question is the necessity for those who live there. And I mean, obviously it's got to be platted to be legit. I understand that, but
I might be addressing that in number 7.
well, listen, number 7, Ed just brought up, says we need to reevaluate our snow plowing business before next season, and we need to take a good look at this.
Yes.
And it's going to be my suggestion when we hit number 7 that we just table that off for a while.
Okay.
But back to number 6 here. So we need a consensus of some sort.
Well, this is Jera, and I have traveled that a lot the last, what has it been, at least 2 years, that little piece of, app. Is it a lane? I guess it's lane, Quartz Lane. Because I go down there to, well, enjoy myself sometimes, but also I have some jobs that I do down there, picking up trash if there is any. There isn't usually, but anyway, I do travel that. And just from watching people coming, I feel as a safety issue that making that loop is much safer than having a jiggy jaggy thing. If you come in down that and can park up on east or north, whatever, northeast, whatever that is, what side.
So,
And then as you're going down, you know, and you come out this way and you go out. So I feel as a safety issue that it's a good thing. Thanks.
thank you, Jara. Ed, opinion?
I think we have several property owners on that street, and like other streets, they deserve to have a decent street. There might be one or two that don't want the traffic on it. I don't think we limit the other property owners by what, one or two property owners. I think we do.
All right, so Ed's in favor, Jared's in favor. Ramon sees it as a traffic loop, but I'm gonna go with Jared. A loop through, especially if we get up some signage, would seem to me to be preferable to trying to back out and get out back up the hill onto Ninth. So
I would agree with that, but I don't think, I've never seen anyone back up that hill. You can turn around in the street.
you can turn around there and drive up out. Well, so for those who were, okay, inclined to do that, and I'm sure there are some. But if we've got 3 people on that street and, we've done some snow plowing, then, yeah, it's a block. And it looks, you know, it's $2,000 plus whatever else goes into it. But, so I'm gonna say yes. Jara,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Ramon?
No,
No, okay. And we have, good reasons for all that, I think. All right, I'm gonna, number 7 here. We're gonna put that off down the road, Jesse.
Yes,
Um,
I just one in, can I just read the paragraph and then just go to 8? So you know.
Yes, go ahead.
What's going
Yeah.
on. Okay, what I call this year's snowplow embarrassment was owner residents coming to their properties, getting stuck and not having access to their properties. I propose we plow all streets and lanes that have a residential address. After all, they pay taxes like we full-time residents do. So are we abusing or punishing these part-timers because they can't be here full-time yet, as we are? I've been with Bill Boyd, our current contractor for snow plowing, and his estimation of additional costs to include these streets and lanes. He stated they didn't believe that it would add any additional cost to the contract price, since he wouldn't have to deadhead many of these streets and drive around them. And he quoted like, Alpine Lane between 4th and 3rd. He could blow straight through. And what I did not add on here is if we go up and need to plow Mesa Street, for example, or whatever that is, goes to Powder House,
Yeah,
then that would be definitely more. But the example was, Fourth Lane from, 3rd to 5th Street. He plows from 5th Street past the Gibbs residence, and he plows down past for Alex and, Tori, I don't know what their last names are. They're at 3rd and 4th Lane. So he could go straight on through instead of deadheading back around to 3rd Street, coming in on 5th, 4th Lane. So, but if we add a street that doesn't have anything else on it, yes, that would be more cost.
yeah.
Number 8?
No, hang on a second. So number 8 starts off with maybe long-term.
Yeah.
Number 9 starts off with maybe longer range. Number 10 starts off with longer range.
Longest.
Okay. I want you, it would be my inclination time-wise for the things that we have left to cover tonight. Table those and let you bring those up again at some other time. Would that be suitable?
I'll be here next month. But there are things that we need to be considered.
They do need to be considered. But as you say, and as you pointed out there, a little farther down the road than some of these on the front side that are more immediate.
I gave this front page is that $15,000 problem.
Yes,
You know, we're losing the 20,000 last year. Appreciate all of your.
yes.
Thank
We
you.
thank you, Jesse. Thank you very much. Okay, we're gonna move on in our agenda. Jesse's gotten us a big start here, it looks like. Gotten himself a big start too. I'm really gonna be curious about these, signs. Okay. So we have to discuss with possible action setting dates for public hearings. We have, Thomas Kelly has a variance that he would like discussed. And that needs a public, hearing. And, Jake Schellenberg has the variance request, and that requires a public hearing, and so we need to set some dates.
Correct. So in order to give notice, I looked at the calendar. The board has the option of waiting until the April meeting. However, that is 5 weeks away. And it seemed like that was quite a long time to push it out. I would suggest either the 2nd or the 3rd of April, which is toward the end of that first week. That would give me time to get letters out by the end of this week, or sometime during that first full week of April, which is the week of the 6th. If the board would be willing to have a special meeting, if it desires, so that way this isn't pushed back. I'll wait till end of April.
I would recommend we do a special meeting simply because the building season in Pitkin is so short. And these folks, I know Thomas Kelly requested that we do a special session as soon as possible. I think we could do a public hearing with a special second session on the 2nd and 3rd of April. I don't think it'd take a lot of time.
Okay. How long do we have to decide on this date, 2nd or 3rd?
You mean when would we have to,
Well, okay, so here's what I'm getting at. Gayla keeps my calendar and she knows all the stuff that I'm supposed to be doing. And,
I think end of April is when you have a
so you even know better than I do. Okay, first part of April will be good then, I guess.
So the 2nd is a Wednesday, the 3rd is a Thursday. If it's all the same to anybody, I would say the 3rd would probably work better. That would just be an extra day or two to get the time out.
Okay,
I will not be able to be in attendance on the 3rd. I could on the 2nd though.
okay,
We have to leave the state on the 2nd.
all right.
I mean,
Ramon,
I'm sorry, on the 3rd. I will be here the 2nd.
you will be here the 2nd. Okay, Ramon says he has some questions.
Yeah, to start with, before we set a date, I'd like more information about what we're talking about. I have,
No idea?
well, on Kelly's, I looked at what was online for the zoning board meeting,
Right,
and I understand that one, except I could not hear on the meeting. Actually, I was not online at that part of the meeting, so question is, why is that coming to this board?
Why is Thomas Kelly's coming to the Board of Trustees? I reached out to our town attorney.
Yeah.
For clarification when variances are required to come back to the Board of Trustees for a final decision. It was his opinion, an email that he sent back, that because it backs up to town property, the variance is that the zoning board of adjustments would make the recommendation, but the final decision on approval would be the Board of Trustees.
so the town property zero lot lining to town property with a variance request. Means that by default, the town is involved in
Yeah,
the
but-
decision.
That doesn't mean that it's our decision. Sure, maybe we should have input or something, but, you know, there certainly is nothing in the zoning code that indicates that. So, and maybe, you
And
know, they can straighten me out because, you know, the way that it was written and has until the last month, so been interpreted is that the zoning board has the authority to grant certain variances, and setbacks is one of them.
Within the confines of the lot lines. Yes.
Does this one
And
cost?
the first one that we ran into was over here with, Corey.
Right.
And that's kind of the first time it crossed my radar.
On a zero lot line. So this particular variance request from Thomas Kelly is what I sent to Blake. And I'll read his response and then he can tell me differently. But his response back, my opinion is that the variance would effectively be an easement into town-owned property as the request is to encroach on setbacks. Thus, I advise the Board of Adjustments, I give a recommendation that the Board of Trustees must ultimately approve or deny this application. And that is on specifically the Kelly variance.
Yes, I think,
Well, tell me though, you said easement. What is an easement involved in that?
well, I guess the question is,
So it's on 8th Street is what it's asking for the variance.
On 8th Street
On
or
8th Street.
adjacent?
It's against 8th Street property line.
Right,
And he's asking for a variance of 2.5 feet off of that property line. That's the variance that he's asking.
but it's not on 8th Street, it's on his property.
It is on his property. It's
Okay,
2.5 feet off of the property line on his property, but the adjoining property, from what I interpret from Clay's email, and he can respond to this if he likes. My interpretation from his email is that because 8th Street is town property, the Board of Trustees should make the final decision.
and
it is online, can
Yeah,
you
well-
weigh in on this?
do it, yeah. So, Mr. Buchner, you've heard
I'm
what
tracking.
has been said so far. The discussion is,
First round is can't match. Okay. Let me try this out. Okay.
You good?
yeah,
Now we hear you.
Okay. So when you look at this, I mean, the crux of the matter is whether or not town-owned property is going to be affected. And so my analysis has to do with if you have like a board of adjustment, which is a board appointed by elected officials, being the Board of Trustees. The idea is that you cannot statutorily without another ordinance and your zoning ordinance, which you don't have, grant or delegate authority to dispose of or encumber town property to a committee. And so you have, an advisory committee that is allowed to make some decisions. But ultimately, if a variance encroaches, encumbers, or otherwise affects town-owned property, the Board of Trustees has to be the ultimate decision maker. And so in this case, the way I saw the application was that the variance would encumber part of 8th Street itself, which is, town-owned and controlled property by way of the fact that it's a thoroughfare. And such request would have to be approved by the Board of Trustees.
okay. So my sole question here, with this variance, this Mr. Kelly has made that Ed has referenced to you, his variance request is to be within 2.5 feet of the street line, town property platted street. And so my question, I guess, is if it's 2.5 feet off the street, in what fashion is that an encumbrance?
Well, I mean, I'm not there looking at the lines. The way that I interpret it is that there's a setback that is coming off the street, correct? And that he's going into that setback, which is gonna encroach on town controlled property, which is 8th Street. And so if he wants a variance onto the street, in effect, by encroaching on that setback, then it's gonna take away 2.5 feet from 8th Street plus its setback. So that's, I mean, again, I'm not there. I don't have, the drawing in front of me. I'm going based on what was provided to me, but
Right.
my advice always is if it involves town property, it should be the board of trustees again, so you don't have an advisory or delegated decision-making body making decisions that would encumber town property. That should be something
Okay.
that goes to the elected officials.
All right, thank you. I don't think
Yes,
we
sir.
have any problem. I don't think I have any problem in taking this to a public hearing and so forth. I was just a curiosity. I think I kind of get it. We have, your standard setbacks that we want things to be. Fences 5 foot off the street, and such for so on, and that would encroach into that. So on that note, why, I don't have any problem hearing this. I was just a little bit curious. And, I think that's a good explanation. Thank you.
Okay. Going to second, and I don't have any information on the Schellenberg request. Ed, can you elaborate on that?
The Schellenberg request was also the same zoning board meeting. That is I'm going off the top of my memory here. That is at 100 Main Street. That is to move the train depot over to 100 Main Street and place it 10 feet off of the soil treatment area, septic system that is currently there. That would put that train depot at a diagonal, actually would be parallel to
More or
Main
less
Street.
parallel with the street.
Be parallel to Main Street. But the back property is against the old Main Street where the ditch is running, which is 30 feet wide. And you put that train depot in that place, the roof eave of the back, the upstream corner on the back side would be right on the property line. Now, as I recall, from Jake telling us at the zoning board meeting, that roof eave is 6 or 7 feet overhang. So the building itself would be 6 or 7 feet off of the actual property line.
Do you have a drawing of that?
There was a drawing submitted for the zoning board.
Because it wasn't put online, but
I believe it was.
I can double check. It should have been.
Yeah, we can get that online.
However, I will say everything will be resent once the board of trustees sets the hearing date so that they have all the same information, because it will be a quasi judicial proceeding. So, but yes, I will look right now and see if it's online.
So Jerry, you're available on the 2nd?
Yes, sir.
Ed,
I could do the second.
Ramon,
this is for the public hearing.
this is for the public hearing on, can we do both of these at the same time?
I think that would be a fantastic idea.
And I don't have a calendar. What day of the week?
Wednesday.
The 2nd is a Wednesday?
Yeah, the second is Wednesday.
2nd is a Wednesday.
Yeah, I think I'm available.
So will that be an evening meeting, are we thinking?
Well, we should. If we're
That's
gonna do
kind
2
of
of them
me.
and it's a public hearing, and I don't see any issues with public hearings. Although, we may hear a lot. Is anybody opposed to a 6:30 meeting, and is that doable?
I can do that.
That would be my preference. sometimes these things have a way of getting a life of their own. And, starting early is better, I think. Okay, date set then, yes?
I just want to be sure that the information is available to me and the public
Okay,
prior to that public hearing. I mean, I've experienced this in the past, not just in Pitkin, but even with the county. You can't expect the public to input if you don't provide
If
them
you have not
information
provided.
on what it is.
Um,
So,
well, let me ask you a question here regarding information on a public hearing. We can put that online, and can we hang that at the post office? Information regarding a public hearing?
Like put a notice at the post office?
Well, I mean, pictures, drawings.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we could, the applications are typically, 3 to 4 pages. So I would say that might not be the best way to disperse them. I do see, I just checked and, trustee Reed is correct. I actually put the wrong document. So that was my mistake. And I'm fixing it, and it will be fixed for, the public hearing, but yes. I mean, we can tack it up there if that's what you'd like to do.
Well, just basically a site plan.
We do have site plans for both of these, yeah. If
Okay.
someone wants them at the post
Yeah.
office, no
that's
problem.
what I haven't seen.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking.
So do you just want the site plan, maybe could we do the site plan in a summary then, rather than?
Well,
all
actually,
three?
the whole application
Okay,
was not,
I think it's 3 pages, so for 2 of them, it's 6 pages.
that, as long as the whole application,
Okay.
including the site plan and whatever
We'll
drawings,
take up some space at the post office for a bit.
we'll deal with it.
We can get it online though, right?
Absolutely.
Sir, have you put it online now?
I put the application online, but what happened is the original application, he didn't answer any of the questions. So it's 2 separate documents right now instead of a single document. So the application is online, the site plan is not online.
Yes,
So
it is. Yes.
is it?
Yeah, it goes right under it says 1 of 2 and then 2 of 2.
Oh.
Click on 2 of 2, it's the.
Okay. Well, I guess, good job, Nate.
Okay. Have we got that worked out? Do we have that worked out?
Yeah. Oh, it is online. Okay. Thank you.
April 2nd.
Six 6:30. April 2nd. Okay, moving on. Let's see if we can get this wrapped up here, guys. So discuss with possible action approving a spending policy for the town of Pitkin. And we had a work session on this. And Pete Olson was a wealth of information and had good ideas. And so this is resolution. Oh, wrong piece of paper. Somebody help me out.
Doesn't have his number on. Doesn't say resolution.
Yeah, it's not a resolution, it's just,
Oh, it's just it's to approve the purchasing guidelines.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And everybody has had a chance to look at that since they came out. And any questions on that? That's why we had a work session. We pretty much went through this thing, and there's a lot to be said for a productive work session.
Well, I compared it to the notes that I had for my work section, and I see all the changes I had in my notes are on.
Ed says he's happy with it.
I thought it was well written coming out of our work session and I'm happy with it.
Ramon, do you have any questions?
No, I'm happy with what we came up with, but I would recommend that we do adopt this as a resolution, so it doesn't get lost in the closet somewhere. I think that, you know, this along with other town policies that I hope we'll be looking at, need to be in the form of a resolution, which basically gives them a place to reside and for people to find them.
Okay. So resolution as opposed to a policy.
So can we do that tonight or does that have to be worded differently on the agenda?
I would have to draft a resolution. It would be.
Okay,
Okay,
everybody want to do that?
The only issue I have with it, and I'm just gonna be honest and upfront, is we started the whole discussion about guidelines for spending for appointed commissioners. We discussed it in a meeting, we did it in a work session, we got purchasing guidelines for appointed commissioners, and now we want to change it to a resolution. Why didn't we start talking about it? Let's set it up as a resolution from the beginning. We're.
As opposed to a policy.
Midstream now, we're changing and saying, oh, now we want it as a resolution rather than guidelines.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask Sarah, so what would be your definition of the difference between a resolution and a policy?
I think Attorney Bookner would probably have a better response.
Okay, Attorney Bookner, can you help us out? Difference between a resolution and a policy?
Well, I mean, a resolution is a way to adopt a policy. That's what. I wasn't tracking the kind of chain of events there, but if you don't have to, if you're going to adopt a policy, you can do it by a verbal resolution or a written resolution. It doesn't have to be in the form of an ordinance, if that's what you're getting at.
Okay, so you can adopt a policy by a resolution.
Yes. So like employee guidebooks, spending policies, etc., you can adopt by resolution because you're not codifying them.
Attorney Bookner, does the board need to adopt this by resolution or can they just adopt the policy? I think that was the question.
Oh yeah. I mean, you could do a verbal resolution right now and say, you know, we resolve to adopt this policy, take a vote, and that'd be fine. But I mean, a resolution is just a you know, less formal, you know, less formal like decision making process. So if you wanted to do it in writing, you could, or you could just vote on it right now, and that would be a resolution.
So basically, we would take a vote on a resolution to adopt a policy.
Well, your vote is the resolution. You could say, you know, we as a board right now, I'm voting to adopt this policy, and in doing so, you're resolving, you're conducting a verbal resolution.
I see.
Doesn't have to be written.
No, I don't really see, but okay.
Or we can just adopt the spending policy guideline. Right? Is that correct?
Right, he's saying that when you verbally adopt it, you are verbally resolving to adopt it, so it is a resolution, it's just not written in resolution.
Right.
So we can take a vote. We can take a vote to approve our spending policy for the town of Pitkin. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. That's. All right. Any discussion up here from the front regarding this same?
I'm ready to put it to bed tonight.
Okay. Just for fun, I'm gonna throw this out. Does anybody out there in the public have any opinions on this business? No. Okay.
Might check online.
Oh, anybody online? No. Okay. Jara?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I move that we approve the purchasing guidelines for appointed commissioners in the town of Pitkin.
Suzanne, I'll second that.
So did I miss something? Spending guidelines as opposed to,
This is what I read.
Purchasing guidelines.
thank you very much. Okay, we have a motion. Did I hear a second? Ed. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Okay. Hopefully last on our list of things that we must do. Except perhaps some reports. To approve an updated contract for Mr. Bookner, our town attorney. And this got some discussion and this had some input. And what did Mr. Bookner send back to us?
He sent it back with the requested changes.
Okay. So we were not out of line with our request.
I believe so.
Okay, well, that makes me feel good. That being the case, we have an employment agreement, Pitkin Town Attorney. That came out of our work session. Was that a work session or just a really long discussion? Anyway. What's your disposition on this?
I'm ready to make a motion.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Again, I compared this to my notes from when we discussed it. Everything looks as my notes showed as far as the changes. I do have just one clarification for Clay, and I'm trying to find it. It's in the Exhibit A. I didn't highlight it. Right. It had to do, it's the first bullet point, look right over it. I'd like to ask Clay how he would like to address this or have the board handle this, because one of the things that I know I asked in our meeting was that we have his presence at one of our meetings 3 times a year, or per request of the board of trustees. And I think we talked about possibly having him come, say June, maybe August, and then a third time at his discretion. But I'd like to hear from him how he would like to handle trying to schedule that for you to make that commitment 2 or 3 days before the meeting. So if you have a preference on how you would like to set a date in advance, I'd like to hear that tonight.
I mean, I really don't have a preference. I'd like to be able to set it in advance because 1 week notice might be difficult just based on scheduling. I want to be able to come when you guys want me there, but typically 1 week advance notice for an overnight trip is difficult. But I don't think it has to be like that either. I mean, Pitkin, you have your meetings, they're set. I'll have at least 1 month notice if you say, hey, next month we think we might need you or we want you, or you can set agenda items that you really want me to be at and give me a month notice, which I think is reasonable, and I can
Not as good as he's gonna be able to.
typically make it. If I know ahead of time enough, I could be there, at a regular meeting for sure.
Thank you, Clay.
Okay, this. What do I do with it? Yeah. And I'll make a motion that we approve the employment agreement with the Pitkin Town Attorney Clay Hookner.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, Clay, looks like you've been hired, buddy.
All right, thank you guys.
And when's the last time you had a real employee type situation? Never mind, you don't have to answer that.
It's all new to
Okay.
me, sir.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes, ma'am.
no, we're getting ready to wrap up here, but did we take care of the actual quotes or bids from those 3 quotes that the street commissioner got? Or we didn't, and
Did we skip some quotes for bids? Did you have some bids out there, Jesse, that we need to respond
we
to?
were sent early on. All those bids were sent out in our packets. But did we actually address that so that can get,
I don't think we approved bid quotes.
No, and he did mention at the beginning that you're already over the 20,000 budget with the bids that you got. Is that?
We did not decide on which provider. I think we need more information from their return bid. But they didn't all 3 answer my questions the same. So I would like to visit with Tom or all of you to go over line item by line item and see how like or dislike and discuss it more thoroughly.
so is that okay if we do it next month, like at the April?
I would like to have it done before
Meeting.
your April meeting so that we can let the provider know who's going to take care of us.
How long will this take, Jesse? And your guesstimation?
30 minutes, we can go through them and thrash them out, and I'd like to as soon as possible so that,
No, I get the soon as possible part.
yeah, so that if we want more things, more, input from a particular vendor, we can have time to get it done before your April meeting. I should like to go with people.
Want to add that to the special meeting? On.
We're gonna, I think. So the April 2nd meeting, that's what you're asking, Sarah?
Right, if the board wants to add it to that meeting, it's only gonna be 30 minutes. I wouldn't suspect that's gonna be a super.
Okay, so
Effort.
we have scheduled this April meeting to start at 6:30. How do we want to deal with this, guys? We want to want to put Jesse on at 6:30 and then do the variance request at 7?
Do the variances first. And then after the variances, we can address the quotes.
I don't think any of it's gonna take too long.
Okay, Jesse's good with that. How about we do that? We start at 6:30, get our variances out of the way, and then see what we can do with Jesse. Huh?
Public hearing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Jesse. So we're going to,
So I just want to clarify on that April 2nd. We're going to do a public hearing and then we're going to address both variances after the public hearings. And then address the 3 bids and 3 quotes that we have.
yes, and we'll hope that all flows well.
Have faith.
So that those agenda items will be written out so that we can put that to bed after those public hearings.
Yes,
Okay,
yes. It'll be written out as, motions that contain a public hearing. So each one will be a motion that contains a public hearing.
thank you.
All right, well, we've scheduled upcoming work sessions and we can only do so many of those at a time. And even this might escalate into more than one. I hope not. So what was this discuss and plan to address the following action items? from the Board of Trustees, zoning board work session, previous trustees meeting. What is that?
Those are just ongoing. They haven't been finalized or addressed via a work session.
Okay.
yet, so there's-
We're gonna kick those on down the road then. And then we have,
Well, before you move on, I have a comment
please go ahead.
on the bullet under that, schedule upcoming work session, enforcement, municipal court, business license.
Right.
I would like to see the town attorney here for the enforcement municipal court fund.
Ah,
So,
so,
so my suggestion would be to schedule that at our April meeting, if they can make it on that date. And we also had talked about maybe
well, you
even
can't,
having him come early and, you know, kind of a work session prior to the meeting and then the meeting. That's,
really, I'm not opposed to that. I just don't want to get too complicated here on Clay's visit. And April is, this is March. April is the next one.
right.
And then, so your request is a work session prior to the meeting, and then Clay here during the meeting?
I think Clay,
April is not an option. I have, Attorney Bookner's out of office calendar and he will not be available on the 21st, which is the date of our April meeting.
Okay,
what kind of date is he available?
Not April 21st and not July 31st through August 5th. Or I think, let's see,
I'm out of country that week. That's the problem with April 21st date. Otherwise, third Mondays are typically are typically pretty good because it's a not a docket day, and you guys, it's just a bad, turns out it's one of the months of the year that I can't be there on your third Monday meeting.
Well, I would schedule it some other time then, but I think that those two items
it
are.
would be nice to get them worked on this year, wouldn't
well, May or June might be an option for that. It wouldn't put it out too much further.
Yeah.
It would get things rolling for the summer if that's the board's desire.
it? Okay, well, see if you can coordinate that with Clay. You know, May or June, you say, huh?
Shoot for June and July, but still when the other people are here in town.
Well, I tell you what, this is just me, and I'm skittish of too big a crowd.
You know, listen to your constituents talk.
But that's just me, Ed. All right. Can you check on that for us?
Okay,
Okay.
I'll coordinate with Attorney Bookner on a month to be here in person for a work session for enforcement and municipal court.
So we have no special additions to the agenda, and the reports are readable or online or else don't exist. And Sarah has a report to make.
I have a letter to the Mayor Pro Tem and Board of Trustees. I would like to inform you of my decision to resign from the position of town clerk for the town of Pitkin, effective May 31st, 2025. I understand that training a new individual into this role may take some time, and I am willing to help with this transition during the next 2.5 months. Thank you very much.
From
me.
Oh, I couldn't, when you said town clerk, I didn't.
So
That's a word.
clarification, effective May 31st means that's when you're officially done and
That's
gone.
Going to be done, correct.
No more training after that.
At this time, no.
Okay.
So, well, I'm sorry to hear that. Sarah, for one thing, but, so will you, as town clerk, put out notices for us?
Sure, if the board directs, I will put out a notice.
Well, Sarah, I want to, on behalf of those of us who have sat here and other places, because you were clerk before I sat in any of these chairs. And I have appreciated your work and your effort and your diligence, and I wish to say thank you.
Absolutely.
I would.
Thank you very much. I do have a question, and we got this, when we hired, I can't remember how much we paying that, the election consultant,
Yes. When she was hired previously, or this year.
this time. And so I don't know what I can't remember. Yeah, it was a lot of money, and so I was surprised that you had to do so much work. When I looked at she didn't, I thought she was gonna like take care of it, but that wasn't the case.
She is running the election. She is the designated election official.
Just for that day.
No, if there are any decisions to be made, she's making them. She's coming in to do the judges training and has created an updated judges manual. She will be here the day of the election. She'll be here for the final count. She drafted all the forms. So the elections are a lot of work. She has taken on the bulk of the work. Excuse me, she's taken on the bulk of the responsibilities, but because she's not here in person, doing things such as managing absentee ballots, that falls to me.
Okay, well, I just was surprised that you were that you were called upon and have to do so much, because we thought we were relieving you.
I think the primary goal of having a designated election official is just so that I would be as removed as possible from the decision making during the election.
Okay, thank you.
Have judges been selected?
Yes. We have 2 judges and 1 alternate. They will be trained this Sunday.
Do we have any other business necessary to discuss?
I do have one question, I guess, for Sarah with the election. My understanding is there's typically watchers. And is there a process to identify?
Yes, so I actually did email Ms. Egbert today about the forms for watchers. There are some requirements. I believe it cannot be a family member. Probably not a member. Well, I'm not really sure exactly. So I'm fairly certain on the family member. It cannot be a family member, but I'll get that information with her and I'll get that to both candidates in enough time to appoint a watcher if they so choose.
Thank you.
Well, I feel like we have covered a lot of ground tonight, and done it in good order and good fashion, and I thank you all for your participation. If there is nothing else, at this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Suzanne, I move we adjourn.
Mr. Chair, I'm second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Ladies and gentlemen, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much for your participation. Good night, Clay.
Good night, guys. Thank you.